As Lisa said, my name is Josh Eisenhower. I'm with VS Engineering. The county commissioners have hired us to do kind of a feasibility study for connecting some existing facilities to the Bannock Middle School as well as the new library that's going on. So this is just kind of an overview of the study area. We're basically going from Gordon Pike up to Country Club Road, and then from the edge of the golf course over to the existing Clear Creek Trail. That's kind of the boundaries of the limits where we're trying to look at making connections, looking at existing facilities. We'll kind of study that whole area as part of this process. This includes the residential areas, any future areas. I know there's an apartment complex that's kind of under construction now, existing sidewalks, existing paths, everything that's currently existing that's out there now, and what we would need to add in to make those connections. The goals basically create a connection between the existing road or existing path along Country Club Road down to the library and Gordon Pike and the rest of the system down there. What we'd like to do is look at ways where we can assess and utilize the existing facilities, whether that be the existing trails, existing sidewalks, or even roads that have low volume that we could use as designated routes for bikes and pedestrians. And we'll also look to improve existing facilities. There's some roads out there now that already have sidewalks, but some of them aren't in great shape. Some of them are only 4 feet wide. If they're going to get a lot of traffic, obviously you want some wider sidewalks. And then we'll also consider new facilities, whether that be new sidewalks, new trails, paving existing asphalt or gravel trails. The main goal is basically to provide a safe, usable path for anyone, not only the residents in this area, but also anyone traveling from the north, the east, the west, trying to get to the library, just making everything safe, ADA compliant, and providing a safe and usable path. Possible facility types that we're going to look at, and some of these already exist out there now. This picture is on Tulip Avenue. This is just an example of a sidewalk with a grass buffer. You see these all over the city. This is one option that we can look at, either upgrading the existing facilities that are already there or adding a new facility of this type. Things to note about this particular facility type is it does provide more separation from the roadway than other types we'll look at, but that also means it does require more right-of-way, which in some areas down here, the right-of-way is fairly limited, which would add to the cost of the project. It requires curb and gutter for added safety. That way people can't drive through the grass and drive over the sidewalk. This you'll see a lot of times through subdivisions, and it'll probably be in future developments. Any low volume road and most city streets are going to have some kind of sidewalk, generally with a buffer, unless there's some kind of constraints that limit. Another facility type is a curb face sidewalk. This is on Coolidge Drive, just north of the project limits. This is kind of your typical curb face sidewalk. It's generally a 6-foot sidewalk that's right at the back of the curb and gutter along a roadway. So you don't get as much separation from the roadway as you would with the buffer and the sidewalk, or with off-street facilities. It does require curb and gutter. You can't put sidewalk right next to an asphalt road without having some kind of barrier to protect pedestrians. This is a possible option along Rogers Street, where there's minimal right-of-way and you've got some very steep slopes on the sides of the roads. This would limit the amount of impact to the adjacent property owners. It would limit the amount of right-of-way that would need to be acquired. Another facility type we'll look at is trails. You see them all over the city of Bloomington. They're all throughout Monroe County. They're generally gravel or asphalt. Sometimes you'll have concrete trails, but they're generally wider. So they allow two-way travel. So they're not limited by the 5 to 6 foot sidewalks you see. They're usually 8 or 10 feet wide so that you can have people going both directions. These would require additional right-of-way if they're not placed within existing right-of-way, but they're not limited to being adjacent to roadways or parallel to roadways. This one is the Clear Creek Trail looking north from Gordon Pike. If anyone's been on that trail, obviously it doesn't follow Rogers Street exactly. It kind of takes its own path, as do all the other trails throughout the county. So what we need, or what we're looking for from this public meeting, is input from you, not only you here in the building, also the people on Zoom. I think there's a comment form that you can download if you want to provide input. There's also contact information for myself. You can email me directly if you have comments. But what we want is to answer basic questions. What areas do you feel are underserved? What areas, particularly within this study area, don't currently have sidewalks, don't currently have safe pedestrian facilities? Where should we be looking? Where should we be focusing? Also, where would you like to see new or upgraded facilities? Where are there sidewalks, but maybe they're cracking, maybe they're crumbling, maybe they're narrow, or they have grass growing over them because they're not used much? Could we upgrade those? We're looking for your input as the residents, people that are going to use these facilities. What would you like to see? What makes sense coming from your perspective as to what would make the best connection within the study area? And also, the most important part, this is a safety project. So what roadways would you feel safe walking along? Do you feel safe walking along Rogers Street if there's sidewalk adjacent to it? Do you prefer to walk on the side streets where there's less traffic? These are all things that we're looking to get from you, all of you. We want your comments, we want your input. That will help us provide the best possible facility and serve the most people efficiently. How you can help: if you're here tonight, you can look at these boards. The project team will be around. We've got 2 stations, one up here on the easels, the other over there on the table. Come take a look at the maps. We've got markers. You can draw where you think the ramps, where you think the routes should go, where of existing facilities that need to be replaced or should be looked at, and any other information that you can provide that will help us, design this connection the best we can. Also, anything of that would prohibit us from being able to build. Are there some kind of environmental issues that we don't know about that would make it so that we can't buy right of way or anything like that? There's also the comment forms. The comment forms do come with a map. You can draw on the map, you can write on it, send those comment forms in. There's an address to send them in. There's also an email address. You can scan them, send them, or you can drop them off at the office or with the highway department. So thank you for coming. I know it was a pretty short presentation, but right now we're not looking to give you a lot of information. We're looking to get a lot of information from you. So at this time, anyone on Zoom, feel free to send chat comments.
I was actually, can you hear me? Does this work? I was actually monitoring that. Someone asked if you could put a link to the comment form in. If we can't do that this evening, I also stated that we would have the comment form, a copy of this presentation on our county website. It will be posted. And then I also put into the chat my email address, so you can directly contact me for a comment form if you don't get it off our website or the link this evening.
Any other questions in the comments that you caught? Yes. I figured I'd take the ones that were comments first and then. Are there any more, Lisa?
I'm not seeing anything at this time.
Any general comments from people here? It doesn't have to be public record, so you can just stand there.
So I've lived in the area for 25 years, 36. And as somebody who has walked that area almost every day with my dogs, I'm thrilled to hear that some sort of infrastructure. 3 comments. One, if you want some particulars, I can give it to you. The number of times we give people rides on some riders who we don't know because it is so misleading. Many times stuff is always great, but I also like seeing people walk.
Sure.
This is really dangerous.
Yeah.
Number 2, there are 2 paths parallel riders right now. Which one of them will pay? I know there are people who love unpaved paths, but the different permutations. But a lot of us walk both of those. During COVID, I was thrilled that the city has some sort of access road over there. Lots of people were spreading out on it. There's also a path next country club to Gordon Pike right now. It would be a dream, one of those paved and well marked as an alternative. Because I can really stop people on the bikes sometimes. All of this maneuvering you're doing with dangerous traffic, if you can go over half a block, you don't have it as unobstructed. So I really wish that would happen. Number three, this is purely personal. We live in an old farmhouse. We have a stone wall there. I mow that by hand, not with the wrench mower all the time. And so I see where Bachelor Sidewalk comes to our property, and I worry about a sidewalk causing any kind of destruction to that whole wall there. It's a pretty wall.
Okay.
So that's personal.
Sure.
So if it could be designed so that it looks beautiful with our wall too, I would be more grateful.
All right. And so your property is right on the north of the middle school property?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That used to be this, our house was the farm that that's.
Okay.
It's actually on the national registry, so it's something, you know, aware of.
Yeah,
That
that's,
is, you know, it's a national. There's also another cool wall, just at the street, that's perfect for rocket historic house. So if there are, it's part of the history of that.
We'll show them. We'll go outside. So,
Okay, so can you hear me? You'll have to go really close. Okay, hi. So I live on actually South Rogers Street, really close to Wall Street. Because this is on Zoom, I don't want to reveal what my actual address is, but so I live about a block away from where the sidewalk ends, close to the country club intersection, and I work from home now, and I literally will see women with strollers walking on South Rogers Street. I will see youth that are walking from also Bachelor Middle School that are walking on South Rogers Street. I understand trying to update existing trails such as the rail trail, but as a woman who might walk like my dog earlier in the morning, I don't feel safe like walking in a very hidden place. And so a sidewalk on South Rogers Street is very much needed, and not just doing updates to a rail trail. And I guess kind of for me personally, if you want to put any kind of sidewalk, any kind of path, like you can bulldoze like my mailbox over, I don't care. I just want something safe there. And I think it's going to be necessary, especially with the new apartments, because I see them and I hear them, like they wake me up at like 7 a.m. working on it. And so there's going to be hundreds of people there, and hopefully maybe even a bus line because of the library. So there needs to be a sidewalk on South Rogers Street. Like it's absolutely necessary. I would like a multi-use path just because I am a cyclist too, and I think it would help with traffic flow. However, I understand a lot of people don't want to give up land, but I'm just speaking to say thank you. I really hope that this actually happens, because I don't want to wake up one day and see a kid get hit. So.
thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure. I'm gonna sit because otherwise I'm bending over and it'll be really weird. Okay, so I live on Fairway. I'm an avid cyclist, and I don't just cycle for fun. I used to commute daily before I worked from home remotely. I ride with my kid. She is also an avid cyclist. And I see to your point about taking the trail. However, there's no way to get there from where I live. It is a desert and it needs to be connected. There are mobile home parks. There are things that could be connected to the trail that aren't, because we're all treating that trail like a recreation trail. It is not connected for transportation. There's two different types of cycling and pedestrian infrastructure. It's not the right one. So you're not meeting the needs of commuters. You're not meeting the needs of kids right now. So I'm very excited about this, but I caution you about a sidewalk because it doesn't feel safe. I wouldn't feel safe even riding with my kid on a 4-foot sidewalk. First of all, when I bike, I'm going 17 miles an hour. I don't need to be on a sidewalk. So I won't be there because that's a collision area. It's not a good idea. So a multi-use path would be good. If you're trying to save money and be more connected, however, those apartments that are going in there, they would probably benefit from a trail connection. You could save a lot of money if you were able to put a couple of cut-ins, you know, either like I think it's Whipping Willows or something down at the bottom of the hill near your house, which is where I get on the road. And that would solve some problems in terms of utilizing existing infrastructure. Yes, you could pave that trail. It would be good. The other option, and this is a privately held sidewalk, I believe, is our subdivision is connected to Bachelor. And then there's another trail connection that way. And then you could go down around where the library is. If that could be expanded, the sidewalk is terrible. I think the subdivision just doesn't have money to improve it. I'm not in an HOA, I don't pay into it, but we use it. It's very nice. And it could also be another connection. Our neighborhood is quiet. You could ride through it. It's fine, but you need some way. And just to share a story of how dangerous this place is, I had a gentleman try to run me off the road and kill me right by Bachelor where the share the road sign is there. I took the lane to prevent him from driving into oncoming traffic, which is my right as a cyclist under Indiana law. He proceeded to try to knock me over, rode down the road 2 miles, and basically stopped. And until somebody shouted at him to leave, refused to leave and threatened my life. So this is a huge problem. I see cyclists there all the time. They're riding on the white line. That's incredibly dangerous to them. It's incredibly dangerous on blind hills, period. Anything we can do to prevent cyclists and pedestrians from putting themselves in a dicey situation when they're not aware of their rights of way would be huge. But I think we need to do it the right way. I think there are different ways to do it. It might take a couple of different strategies, but it needs to be more than pedestrians because quite frankly, when you talk about pedestrian sidewalks, they're just not wide enough to make people feel safe there. And you need to talk about connectedness. That's another huge thing. So connecting the existing infrastructure to utilize it for transportation and recreation is huge. Cannot stress how excited I am about that possibility. So thank you.
That's exactly what the kind of information we're looking to get tonight. So thank you very much. Anyone
So
else?
can I catch up on chat a little
Yes.
bit? I don't want to miss anything on chat. So I'm going to read a couple of the questions or comments. First from Alexis Pruitt, is there a proposed timeline? That's going to depend on the outcome of the feasibility study, what direction this project takes, and it's going to have to do with cost. That's going to be one of the big questions, and that's why we started out this process to see what was the best option on moving forward and not get into something that the county can't afford and give hopes to people and the public that just kind of dies out. We want to put something out there that hopefully we can afford and the public will accept and do the best that we can for the overall project. JG, is there any plan to place a connection from the trail to the west side of Rogers in between Country Club and Gordon? I believe that would be in the area that we're looking at and it is an option that's been presented out there.
So
When
I'm
we put
just
the presentation online, you'll be able to see the maps a little bit more clear in the presentation also.
Yes. And just to jump in, one of the things we will look at is connecting Rogers Street to the adjacent trails, and that may end up being the most feasible and economic option. And it may be, the one that satisfies the purpose and need of the study. So, excuse me, it is something that we will consider is, looking for connections, like you had mentioned, over to that trail. I believe at least the gravel trail, the old rail trail is still owned by the city, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So getting people over there, we could definitely do. Getting that paved would require coordination with the city. So that may be another issue that we would have to work through, but it's definitely something that we'll consider as part of this study.
Next, we have from Angie Hickman. I just want to pipe up and express interest in this project. I would love to be able to safely walk to the new library, Kroger, and CVS. A concern is that we've already had flooding issues on Fairway Lane, and I'd want to be sure whatever new pavement didn't exacerbate this problem. Alexis, any new sidewalk, multi-use path along Rogers Street and not through the woods is definitely preferred. Angie Hickman, I'm agreeing 100% with these comments so far. Julie, we would really like to see a buffered sidewalk on Rogers Street. That would be fantastic. We are located along the trail between Gordon Pike and Country Club, and paving the path furthest east makes sense, but I would want any lighting along that path to be very carefully considered, since at this point it would be adding light where there isn't any light now. And from Ellen, the Tulip Avenue area is a perfect example of an area that's difficult to get from the neighborhood to the Beeline or Clear Creek Trail without using roads and sidewalks on the campus of Bachelor Middle School. I don't know if there's any limitations to using the parking lot while school is in session to get to the main road west of Bachelor or sidewalk on a bike. Even after you get on the main road, you have to navigate a hill to get to the Beeline. This is the workaround I navigate just to safely get on the Beeline so I can commute to IU. Jackie Nestor-Jellin, who is our planning director. There will be a connection from the new apartments to the Bloomington Rail Trail. The new apartments will also have a sidewalk along South Rogers Street where they have some road frontage. Alexis, my stepson was struck at the corner of Fairway and Rogers by a vehicle that didn't stop. Even though they tore off their mirror, he was walking properly, but just didn't have room to jump safely out of the way. Alexis absolutely needs to include the need of cyclists. I can't read the thorough name of this. Abigail. The apartment should be used to connect to the Beeline. They are being snuck in and should benefit us if we have to look at them. I am also concerned about the increased stormwater they will displace. Julie agreed. Abigail, these verbal comments are great. Thank you. Corrine Wilson, we 100% need a path along Rogers. There are too many neighborhoods and pedestrians off this main road already. The apartments will only add to this issue. Expanding service along the rail trail with lights and paving and widening the sidewalk between Willow Creek and the Country Club is a nice idea, but will not solve the problem. Ellen? There's a hill just south of Green Road that drivers fly down. Is there a way to safely get across from Green Road, Fairway, on bike and on foot to get to the connection that you're referring to? And then Bernie Zoss, agree that access to both the rail trail and the path that runs along the Country Club behind Willow Creek subdivision need to be connected to the Rogers Street sidewalk. Directional signage would be helpful as well.
Yeah, so, and that kind of echoes back to as great as what the apartment connection is, you're still going to have people that will try to get to the apartment. So you don't have any sidewalk from Wall Street down to the apartment, which kind of goes through my house. And then you won't have anything on between that Green Road hill, which, I mean, like I've actually heard someone like slam on their brakes, their car go sliding because I had to stop because there was someone in front of me, and I was like, oh well, I'm gonna get hit. And I don't know if there's been any talk about trying to put something on South Rogers Street and maybe a sidewalk, which would help narrow it, which would then cause people to maybe not fly down that street going 45 or 50, like because if anyone who lives on South Rogers Street knows that everyone drives about 40 miles per hour, like that's just a standard. And so that's where a sidewalk might also help decrease traffic accidents. And so that's why, even though you might have these different connecting trails from the apartment, from the school, like I really want to drive home, there needs to be something on South Rogers Street just to make it safer, because if you want to put a library there, you also have a school, and you're building more and more houses south of town. Like this roadway needs to not be a highway. Like there is an adjacent road that people can go 40 on, and that is the South Walnut Street. So we need to try to make this, if this is supposed to be a nice neighborhood area, then we need to make this into a neighborhood street. And that's where a sidewalk will also help slow down cars, which will hopefully lessen the number of times that people slam on brakes flying down that specific hill. So I just want to reiterate, we need something on South Rogers Street and not just connectors.
Yes, hello. My name is Nan Brewer. I just want to reiterate, thank you so much for saying that this is a residential area. I think what I would say is be cautious in what you're picking to make it seem more like a industrial thoroughfare. There is a bike path, there are sidewalks on Walnut Street. I'm not saying we don't need any, but we shouldn't think of this road as being like Business 37. It isn't, and I'd like to see the county also think, like you were saying, kind of directing traffic, particularly when the connection comes through to 69, to go to Walnut Street, which is the business thoroughfare. So if we can just be thinking about what we pick to make sure this does emphasize this area as a residential area, which it is 100%, as well as it's kind of country charm of that area, which drew people. So, you know, what we pick, I would like to see kind of continue to emphasize that quality. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jackie Porter, and I'm a teacher at Bachelor. And I was the one that called Julie and said, hey, we need a sidewalk down Rogers. You know, I drive to school down Rogers every day, and I see kids trying, you know, have missed their bus or trying to get to school, which I applaud them trying to make it to school. However, there's no sidewalk. And, you know, schools in general, our transportation plan for MCCSC says in general, if you live within a mile of school, you should be walking. They can't safely walk even a half a mile to Bachelor on that side because of it. And we have kids in that trailer park that, you know, miss school and they're just stuck. They either walk unsafely to school or they miss school, and it's a problem. And you know, as someone who has lived in Bloomington all of her life and has walked these streets, you know, as a kid and as an adult as well, you know, when the sidewalk runs out, you just walk next to the road. I mean, that's just what you do. And although when I contacted Julie originally, and she's like, well, there's that sidewalk that connects to Bachelor through that neighborhood. And I'm thinking, okay, it feels really uncomfortable to go through someone else's neighborhood. It doesn't feel like you belong there. And so, and especially going, when you know that there's a sidewalk right there at the edge of Bachelor and you only have this far to go, it feels weird to go half a block this way or half a block that way, to just have to go half a block back the other way to be able to get to where you want to go. You want to just go directly there. And if you can see the road going there, you're just going to walk along the side of the road as these kids do. And as I see adults do all the time. And as others have said, it is wonderful and would be wonderful to connect some of these trails. But that was something else Julie said as well. She said, you know, there's that Clear Creek Trail. And she said, but there's no way to connect it. And then that was when we still had the horse farm a year and a half ago or so. And now that's changing. But still, again, you know, encouraging people to go back to Country Club, down to the trail and down and around and then go back up here. Kids aren't going to do it and adults aren't going to do it either. They want the direct route. And so I'm really hoping that as we consider the different ways to go, you know, paving Clear Creek Trail would be nice. You're going to need lighting. as also as a small woman, I don't feel safe walking through those woods at night or early mornings. And that's when these kids are going to be walking is, early mornings. And, and next to traffic, although it can be anxious because there's traffic, it also has an element of safety because strangely, counterintuitively, because it feels, at least as a woman, that people are less likely to bother me if there's cars going by because someone will see. But if it's, in the woods, then someone can do something and it's not as easily seen. So I think that in the long run, although you deal with right of way and although you're going to deal with, there's the one area just south of the golf course, if you do it on the western side, that it dips down a little bit. I think, by the time you put in lighting and paving and things like that to Clear Creek Trail, plus access points and more signs and things, I think in the long run, as others have said, if you don't put a sidewalk down Rogers, you're not gonna fix the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments in here?
So we just speak here? No, you go ahead. No, she doesn't. Go.
Quick question. Am I on the timer or can we ask, like if I ask him questions? can
We
he
didn't
answer?
set a timer.
Okay, good. Because I've got a few and I'd hate to rapid fire at you. First of all, I am also in favor of this sidewalk. Fantastic idea. I do like the idea of the multi-use path. There are a lot of bikers. I'm a runner. I also run with my dog, so I kind of need a little wider space. So I think that's great. I also, nobody else has said this, but I will. If the city of Bloomington is annexing us, they should absolutely be on the hook for this. They want to annex us because they say, hey, you're part of the city. And I know you probably don't have anything to do with this, but if the city of Bloomington is going to say, hey, you're already part of our community, you need to pay taxes and all that kind of stuff, then part of that tax money, which is supposed to go into a fund that can use to better our neighborhood, then the city of Bloomington should absolutely be on the hook for this and help funding this project. Don't know how that works. I'll just put it out there. The other thing is I live in a cul-de-sac in this kind of bluish neighborhood off to the side. It's a tiny little front yard that I have. Like, are you looking at putting sidewalks there too, or is it kind of more the main streets?
Right now, we're considering all options. If it's just a short little cul-de-sac road, chances are we probably wouldn't plan to put sidewalks there as part of this project, since this one is mainly for the connecting road, for the main road to make that connection. But like I said, if it's in the study area, we're going to look at any way we can use it. There might be a way to put sidewalks down there and make a connection to the trail. So, we'll look at those options. But the focus is more on, making a full connection throughout this whole corridor, not necessarily short connections on a cul-de-sac, but it'll still be considered, yes.
Okay, yeah, either way, I'm good, but yeah, it is a tiny cul-de-sac, so, but that would work. Rogers is definitely, I think, where the focus should be, because that's where it's needed. There are people driving to work in the mornings. I don't know how many times people are kind of like narrowly missing each other, swerving to avoid people because everybody's trying to get up to work. I'm always late. So trying to swerve around somebody and quickly get back in the lane is something you see all the time, and it's dangerous. I do also, within this neighborhood on Lois Lane, Green, Ladd, West Ryan, there are a lot of walkers over there too. A lot of people walk their kids, walk dogs. But like I said, I'm a runner. I do think we could benefit from sidewalks. I do worry about the roads being so narrow. There's not really a lot of driveways that people park in. And so when you have a sidewalk that sticks out and then a car, short road, and then another car with the sidewalk, it's going to make it very narrow. So it could congest it a bit. But I think at least having a sidewalk on one side could be a possibility. I think that would really work. Because you see people of all ages, young kids on little bikes with their grandparents and stuff. So it's definitely a good project. I had one other question. I can come back up, right? Because I can't remember the other question I had. Is that okay?
Fine.
Okay.
You can always ask after too.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Anything
The
else?
only other comment that I had from Corrine Wilson is we are not addressing the homeless camp along the rail trail, and paving and lights may not discourage this.
Any other questions or comments here? All right, well, I guess we'll end the formal part of the meeting, but we will be around with the maps up here and over by the table. If you have specific questions or anything that specific you want us to note on these maps, feel free to come up and chat. If not, then thank you all for your input. It's been very educational, and I'm glad there was such a good turnout, and thank you all for coming.